Not. Absolutely no fun at all. But it was what it was. I got my audio thing sorted. Because you know what it was? I spent hours reworking my audio. But I reworked the audio on my other stream setup with all my other overlays and all my other panels and bits and bobs for my regular gamey bits. But I have a completely separate setup for Ring Warriors bits. And all of that doesn't get automatically updated. So I had to redo everything. And of course, a recent Windows update did cock everything up. So, in other words, the moral of this story is blame Windows for everything.
For once, you're not blaming the Mac. Way.
I know.
I mean,
well, second, you blame the Mac. But in this case, and in this special occasion, we completely and utterly blame the Windows update. Is my God.
Well, my God.
Just why? Why, man?
Wow.
Why, oh, why, Delilah? Anyway,
Yeah.
we're up and running, and hopefully I sound all right to people at home. Well, hello. Thank you for coming.
Yes.
Been a while. It is Ring Warriors, and
Well,
doing things a bit differently this evening. As you can tell from the title of the streamy, it is a developer update stream, which is all well and proper. Kayla's joining as well. Howdy, Kayla. Hopefully you dodged the technical issues that I had. Cross fingers, and hopefully I'm sounding alright. Because optimizations and all that jazz. But yes, dev stream this evening. Going over and talking about the up and coming new major update to Ring Warriors, being what I like to call the point by skill system. As obviously the title of the stream says. Point by skill system is very straightforward. So now, whenever you would pick your starting style when you create your character, you will start with a series of points that then you can put into the skills that you want. Then as you level up, you gain more points, and you can put those points into prizes, and there you go. Everyone loves prizes.
wow.
Yes. Without further ado, and without me blabbering on for too long, especially with Tash here. By the way, Tash is here.
Hi.
Great intro, I know.
Yeah. It's not
I
as
haven't
flashy.
been on holiday for 2 weeks, you know.
I mean, it's fine. It's cool.
It's cool. We're professional. It's good.
Yeah, it's been a long time. Like, you just gotta be a little rusty.
I mean, I need to. I'm getting ahead of the game. You gotta get your head of the game. That's enough High School Musical references in my goddamn wrestling game. Let's move to the updates and Dead Talk screen. So, ladies and gents, here we are. What you are looking at is Skill Point System 1.0, or what is technically 0.9 because it's not playable yet. Well, I say it's not playable yet. It's not complete yet.
But it will be.
It will be. Hell yeah. This is like, well, think of this as point by beta. That's the best way to put it.
Yeah.
Point by beta. So this is a look as to what the system entails. You may remember some of these from the actual skill list that we have in the actual legitimate wrestler's manual. But they've been reworked. So allow me to explain the process here. So I've started off with the technician skills because they were first on my list, because yes, I know I haven't changed things into alphabetical order, but I would think that would be fixed by the time this is released. Happy! Especially since I have put specifically the technician ones, because I've finished these ones, in alphabetical and point-based order to make everyone possible happy. But I want it in Latin order. Shut up. Or something like that. Anyway. So, technician. We have counter. Counter is a mainstay with technician in general. It's a thing. But now it's an actual skill you can buy. So at level 1, you would normally at level 1 be given 2 points of your chosen style, in this case, Technician. But as well as that, you'll also be given extra points that are called general points. Now, general points are going to have general skills, and we'll go into that a little bit later on. But with Technician points, you can then get Technician skills, or as I like to call it, Technician SP, short for skill points. Of course it is. So, with one of your points of one of your Technician SP, you can buy counter at level 1, which, if you perform a move that requires wits, you may attempt to counter the next move performed against you. You must roll a d12 plus the stat used by your opponent and must roll higher in order to counter. You may keep attempting to counter until your next turn or until you have successfully countered once. That's the base skill that you get with 1 point. But now, this is something I've been working on that I really enjoy. If you accumulate some more points and you feel, well, my skill's there, but maybe later on in the game when things get tougher, it's not going to be as viable, right? This is why some of the skills you can now level up. So now your floating SP may not be floating for too long. So you buy counter with 1 SP. Then, when you have 2 SP, you can level it up to level 2. What does level 2 do? Well, you can now counter twice prior to your next turn. And then an extra 4 Technician points will level it up to level 3, which means you can counter 3 times prior to your next turn. So maxed out, counter will allow you to potentially counter 3 times against your opponent before your next turn. And bearing in mind that yes, the wording does say that you can keep on attempting until you have successfully countered. So effectively, countering 3 times, as long as they're within range of you, you can keep attempting their counters. You can keep attempting counters until you land the counters, and then it counts as 1. And you can do that 3 times when that's fully maxed out. It's quite simple. The skill's not overwhelming, it's not mind-blowing, but a simple rework like that makes it, level ups, I like it. Then we have some new ones, such as multi-carry. Multi-carry is kind of like a rework of some of the other ones we've added. You'll notice later on, we've got some new skills in here, but are reworks of skills we already have. But instead of keeping the skill we had and making it work, I've actually either separated them or completely reworked them to make them work with this new point-buy system. So with multi-carry, you spend 1 SP to buy it, and you may pick up an additional opponent within 15 feet for a grapple along with your original target. The second opponent only receives half the damage of the original target. So if you've ever wanted to be a person that could just stack people on top of your shoulders before driving them for a Death Valley driver, this is how you can go about doing it. But obviously the second opponent only gets half damage until you level it up, where now the second opponent takes full damage, and then at level 3 you can pick up a third opponent within 15 feet for a grapple, and they will only receive half the damage of the other 2 targets. Which is insane. Now you can carry 3 people on your shoulders, friggin' gorilla press all of them. It's mad. Leveling up this bad boy means you're carrying everyone for days, and at the same time, pressing the living daylights out of them if you want to damage the heck out of them. It's great. It's fun. Then we have Puppeteer. 1 skill point. Whenever an opponent rolls a miss or a bad hit on an attack, you can use a bonus function to manipulate where the opponent is placed and where they are looking. It's as simple as that. You can just, it's basic manipulation. Puppeteer level 2, Opponents move this way have their AC lowered by 2 until their next turn, making it more incentivizing to manipulate them as to where you want them positioned. And then level 3, opponents moved this way have their AC lowered by 4 until their next turn. So, investing it straight away, you may think to yourself, oh, what's the benefit in that? Well, it may not be beneficial to you. It may be beneficial for your teammates if your teammates can only perform moves if they're looking in a certain direction or if they're facing in certain directions. Or you can possibly perform certain tag team moves. It's like if you turn them so that they now have their back to you, but their front to your ally. Hey, we got a tag move going on, let's frigging know. Possibilities open up with level 1 alone, but level 2 and level 3 now give you AC manipulation, which makes it an incentive if you want to dip the points in, which is the whole point. And then we have rearrange, which is after attacking an opponent as a bonus function, you can move the opponent into any position within 10 feet of your current position, standing, downed, knelt, etc. So you actively move the opponent into a position of your choosing, be it up, laying down, knelt with one knee, positioned here, positioned there. That's what that skill allows you to do, as long as you hit them once. A level 2 with a couple of SP. Next attack made against an opponent moved by this effect rolls with favour. So now you're giving whoever attacks that opponent next bonuses to hit them. And then level 3 increases the range to 20 feet of your current position, which just means you have more variety of what you can do, which is great. Absolutely great. That was Puppeteer, Rearrange, and Reposition. Tight Grip, which is 1 SP, and you can perform grapple attacks on any weight class without having to roll checks for weight difference, and you can perform this equal to your power stat before requiring a rest. The reason why it requires your power stat is because this is kind of powerful as a level 1 option already. But you can only do it a finite number of times. Then you level it up once, can be performed equal to your favor power before requiring a rest, and now you have more uses. And then at level 3, you can be performed all the time without the need of a rest. So if you invest into this all the way, now, oh no, I am a tiny cruiserweight gnome battling a gigaweight Agricon. You can suplex the living daylights out of him with ease without having to roll checks for lifting him up. Done. And all you gotta do is invest 4 of your precious points. Again, incentives. It's all about incentives to try and make these worth purchasing. But not all the skills are going to have level up options. No, they're not. As you can see here with counterproductive does not give you level up options, but a good option nonetheless if you wanted to dip your 2 technician SP into it. Whenever a counter occurs during combat, you roll your counter attack with an additional +2. So putting 2 points into that synergizes with counter at the top. So if you have 3 SP, or if you, starting at level 1, you have 2 SP, let's say you put 1 point into counter and 1 point into tight grip, for example, just because you wanted to have a couple of skills to start out with. Then you level up. You level up a couple of times. You get 2 technician SP, and then you dive it into this bad boy. Now, whenever you successfully counter, your counter attack does an additional +2, just to help you out. Hey. Then we have things like double trouble. You are able to, this is where we start dabbling into the new stuff to make things a little bit more interesting. So we have, you are able to project a copy of yourself and perform your entire sequence against another opponent within 60 feet. And you are also able to apply any of your other skills as normal, and you can perform this skill 1d4 times per rest. Yes, we've gone that far. It's about time we took this wrestling game from pretty crazy already to batshit insane. And I love it. So it's 2 SP to start, and you're probably thinking 2 SP, okay, easy, I can get that at level 1. Sure you can. Sure you can. Which would be a very interesting option to have at level 1. And then it costs 3 SP to level up to level 2. Uses increases to 2d4 per rest. Okay, cool. A few levels, I can make that happen. 5 SP to max it out for level 3. Where the uses are increased to 2d4 per encounter. So now at the start of an encounter, you roll 2d4s, that's it. You've got all those uses and you don't have to worry about resting at some point. You can just do it again the next time you encounter something. Ooh, restarting. And then we have the return of the effects table, which I want to incorporate a lot more throughout the skill sets. And we have lasting effect, which is 2 SP. After performing a successful hold, your opponent must roll a toughness contest with the following results. And let's see what would happen. Rolls a 1. Your body aches uncontrollably. You have -2 AC and harm on attacks for the next 1d4 turns. Roll a 2. You ache and moan from the submission hold. You have -2 AC for the next 1d4 turns and harm on your next attack. Number 3. Your body is in pain. You can feel it. You have harm on your next attack. Rolls a 4. You feel aches after making some sharp movements. Roll a toughness save, DC 10, when you next move. On a failed save, you have harm on your next attack. Number 5. The pain... Wait, no. I don't know why the pains is here. No. The pain is here. The pain is there, but not as cumbersome as you think. You are fine. And number 6. When you were in the move, it was painful, but you are ready to fight now. You are fine. So effectively, if your opponent gets 4 or lower on their contest roll, things can potentially happen. If they get 5 or 6, oh. So the reason, some people may look at this and just think, well, what's the point of investing into something where it's not guaranteed to work? It's the gamble. And there are players out there that love playing with gamble mechanics. Just look at those crazy people that decide to become wild magic sorcerers in D&D. You have a table of I don't know what the hell's going to happen, but I sure as hell love to roll on it. And that's the whole point of the contests. The contest is literally a matter of you're challenging your opponent to best you, which is the whole thing about wrestling. Trying to best each other. This is a skill where you're trying to challenge your opponent into besting yourself. And if your opponent wins it, great. It's awesome. If your opponent loses it, they lose hard, depending on what they roll on. Which could be interesting in its own way. We then have Lockdown, which is not a reference to what is currently happening with certain people around the world. I swear I started work on this before that happened. This was not the case. Don't at me. So we have, for 2 SP, if you perform the same hold twice during your sequence, your opponent must roll a wits contest versus yourself. On a loss, they are counted as downed during and after you have performed the move. So when it says wits contest versus yourself, it is basically you both roll a d6 with your wits added on top, and whoever rolls the highest number wins. Basically think of it, if anyone's ever played Talisman, it's very similar to how Talisman do it in their gameplay, where you have your stats, and then when you, well, let's say for example you have your power stat, and you're facing a creature, and that creature fights with power, you both have your power stats, and then you both roll d6s to add on top when you're attacking. Whoever has the highest number wins. But now we've turned that into a contest mechanic to see who will best one another in glorious combat. Makes it a little bit more fun that way. It makes it a little bit more competitive, which is what wrestling is. But then you can level it up with 3 SP, and the opponent must use their full move to get up from a down position. Is very good. That means even if they're able to get up, That's it. That's all they can do on that turn. And then for 5 SP, the opponent cannot get up from the down position until their next turn. So they have to spend an entire turn stuck in the down position. Which makes this all of a sudden a very interesting skill to take up. Wish to delve. Then have quick switch for 2 SP. If you fail to land a hold, you can instantly try to perform a different submission move. If this one hits, you roll 1d6 plus wits for damage, and you can perform this equal to your harm wit stat per encounter. Simple, straightforward, gives you an added try. For 3 Technician SP, you can level up to level 2. Uses increases to wits per encounter instead of harm wits. And then 5 Technician SP, uses increase to favor wits per encounter. Simple as, you just get to use it more. And then see what I see for 2 SP. When you are within 15 feet of an ally, you can attempt to counter an attack intended for them, and you can counter these attacks equal to your harm cunning per encounter. This now allows you to counter for other people. You basically stand in the way of the attack to potentially counter it to stop your ally from being hit, which can be pretty nuts. And then for 3 SP, you can increase the range by 30 feet to 30 feet. And with 5 SP, increased uses to cunning per encounter instead of harm cunning per encounter. More uses! Yay! Then the last of the two Technician SP skills that I have at the moment, we have Snap Encounter. Or Snap Counter, sorry. When you counter an attack from an opponent, you perform an additional 1d6 damage. You can now tell what I'm trying to do with Technician. Because one of the things that I did not like with the current skill system how it was, not just its linearity, but on top of that, the skills didn't seem as if some styles had an actual theme around them. It didn't seem like certain styles had an actual specific thing that it does better than anyone else. It just seemed as if it has things that everyone else doesn't have, and that's it. I didn't want that idea. I wanted to come across that a technician has skills that will make you play differently than, let's say, you were a powerhouse, or strong styler, or a high flyer, or this, that, and the other. I wanted to incentivize that. Some of the skill trees were already like that. Like high flyer was completely different than anyone else. The technician felt really flat, and now with this optimization, technician has really just turned into the counter god, which is pretty darn nuts. And we'll go over the level 3 Technician SP things, and then we'll have a bit of a natter. So we have Breaking Point for 3 SP. Whilst your opponent is in a hold, you may roll an attack against their AC to see if you can successfully wrench the hold and break the limb or limbs that are in use. Your opponent takes damage equal to a multiple of your power stat. For example, a power 3 means this deals 3 times 1d6. And you may perform this skill 3 times before requiring a rest. Holy damn. Starting off pretty darn strong. But then you can level this up. 4 SP. Damage increases to power times 2d6. And then level 3 for 6 Technician SP. Damage increases to power times 3d6. So, to put this into consideration, maximum score you can get without racial bonuses is 6 on your power. 6 times 3d6. Now that's a lot of damage. I didn't mean to use the meme on that one. It's just a lot of damage. Making the technicians now capable of doing a lot of damage. And it also gives them an incentive of, kind of submission experts as well. Cool, I like that. Then we have Change of Plan for 3 Technician SP. When you successfully land a grapple move, you can immediately use your Climax move. Your Climax move for this roll only deals 1d6 plus cunning and does not add any other effects from your climax level. This does not count as part of your sequence, and you can perform this equal to your harm cunning until requiring a rest, once per sequence. Pretty nuts. It basically allows you to use a not as powerful version of your climax move, which is pretty nuts, where you immediately change what your plan was into your climax move, but as a result, because you didn't plan to use it in the first place, it's not going to be as powerful, but it turns the tide. And then we have Technician SP, 4 to be precise. To level up to level 2, damage increases to 2d6 plus cunning. And then for 6 SP to level up to level 3, damage includes climax level effects. So effectively you get your full climax move for free with something like this. That's a huge investment for 6 points. I was debating whether I should make a 4 Technician SP level, but for now I'm keeping it at 3, and if it ends up being busted, we'll work it out. But I love change of plan. I think it's going to mix up, especially because I'm giving you options for your technician trees. So if you want to go this deep, you can go deep. And then we have a very interesting idea that I came up with. So you may remember on the actual wrestler's manual, and I might just bring it up for myself. In the wrestler's manual that we have it right now, if I go to technician, that's strong styler. Oh, excuse me, I'm burping my head off as well. Here we go. So with the climax, so with the wrestler's manual as we have it right now, we have once more, twice more, and so much more, which are their own separate skills. We've kind of kept the same idea, but now we've made it so that once more, twice more, and so much more, you're going to have to really invest into. You'll see what I mean as we keep going on this list. So, once more for 3 SP, you can perform the same grapple move onto the same opponent again after successfully landing an attack. This does not count as part of your sequence, 1d4 cooldown. Simple. You still get once more as it originally was. But then instead of having twice more straight away as an option, you have out of nowhere. When you have countered an opponent's move against you, you can immediately dash up to 30 feet to another opponent and instantly hit them with an attack. And you can perform this skill up to 1d6 times per rest. So effectively, you counter something, you have a burst of power, and it's like, I've got to unleash it. Zip towards someone, bash. Sorted. And then we have twice more, and as you can see here, twice more not just requires 3 SP, it also requires once more. So you've got to really invest into this one. So with this one, you can perform the same attack on your opponent up to 3 times. This does not count as part of your sequence. If you successfully land all 3 attacks, your opponent must roll a toughness contest with the following results, and you can perform this skill equal to your harm cunning per rest. So now twice more makes it even more beastly, and this is what twice more does in the contest table. Opponent rolls a 1. You are completely overwhelmed by these moves. You take an additional 1d6 plus favor cunning in damage. Number 2. You are shaken up and hurt by the constant attacks. You take an additional 1d6 plus cunning. Number 3. You are hurt badly by the continuous assault. You take additional damage equal to your opponent's favor cunning. Number 4. If you are feeling the pain, it isn't good. You take an additional 1d6. Number 5. You are hurt, but not that badly. You take an additional 1d4. And then number 6. You have been through hell, but you are not out yet. Do not take any additional damage. Oha. Your opponent's got to roll high in hopes that they do not receive damage from your consistent barrage of attacks. Simple as. Then we go over to so much more, which is right over here. So this requires 3 SP, once more, and twice more. And you can get this. You can keep rolling for attacks after twice more. Keep rolling for attacks after the third successful one, but you will have a -2 to hit for every attempt thereafter. Your opponent only rolls for twice more if you land all 3 original attacks. So it still implies that you need to land all 3 of the original attacks for twice more, but now with so much more, you can keep going. Effectively, you can keep going an infinite amount of times as long as your rolls are high enough to mitigate the minus costs. And the amount of damage can literally be incredible. But of course, you've got the gamble. Do you keep going knowing that your attack's going to be not as good to hit? Or do you give up after the third one because you're thinking, I've done enough damage this time? There's no way he can get up from that. Are you sure you want to say that? Again, gambling. Not that I incentivize gambling in real life, but gambling based mechanics where you don't know whether you're going to win or lose out of a deal. Incentives. It's a big buy-in as well, because technically, by this point, you've spent 6 Technician SP to get twice more, and now you have to spend 9 total to get the full package, which makes it worth doing, if you're willing to go that deep. And then finally, the big spender at the end of the tree, the 1000 moves, 5 Technician SP to purchase, and you may select 6 moves from the move list to become your mastered moves. These moves always deal your favor stat in damage instead of your base stat, and you may also use twice more and so much more when you successfully land your climax move. You must roll 1d4 after using one of your mastered moves and cannot use another one for that many turns. There you go. Simple as that. So now, if you purchase for 1000 moves and you haven't got twice more or so much more, now you have an incentive to get those levels, save that precious SP, and purchase those skills. Because now it's basically telling you, are you telling me I can perform my climax moves more than 3 times consecutively with their effects over and over again on one turn? On one part of your sequence? Yes. It's nuts. But of course, in order to do that nuts stuff, big investment. Save up that SP. You're going to need it. So that is the new reworked Technician so far. And personally, I think the Technician has more flavor, more character, and just brims with more creativity now with this than it does in the regular skill tree. At least in my eyes. It actually brings it to the forefront of what I wanted this to actually be. Which is fantabby-dozy, and I'm so happy about it. But because I've badgered on for quite a while, I'm quite interested in hearing opinions from anyone out there. I know it's not a popular stream this evening, which is absolutely fine, dandy. We're all out and about doing our own things. It's Friday, why not? Even if you're stuck in your house and you can't be asked, it's all good. It's all good. But I want to know, Tash,
Yo.
what are your thoughts on the change of the Technician?
I mean, I don't know like the old version of the Technician well enough to like actually have an informed opinion, but listening to like the changes and things, I I always thought of the Technician as like the um essentially the human fighter of like, I don't know, like D&D or something like that, or just like the fighter class even, where you can go like full ham with like certain classes in that, but sometimes but sometimes you but sometimes in order to get like certain effects or certain sort of like the really good synergization with like some abilities. Like you obviously go with fighter. With technician, I always thought it was like sort of the same thing, as well as brawler. I felt that with the brawler, having like, I mean, I know we're talking about technician, but like, bear with me for a moment.
Well, you know Brawler more because you've obviously
Yeah,
built the main squeeze, Lavania.
yes. So essentially, any sort of fighting style plus at least a level or two or so in brawler, and you got yourself a, and you've already got yourself like, um, I don't know, not necessarily like overpowered. Let me have a look at the brawler in the like old versions of the manual and stuff. Because there are some moves in there, like, yeah, because there are some like sort of skills in there which are like, oh yeah, pair that up with this, and then pair that up with that, like,
Yeah,
and let's see, manual, come on, do the thing. Okay, so
because I'm looking at it myself. It's like things like the old one too, or the stances, or
yeah, the old one too was one of the moves which I felt was like, oh yeah, that's totally not going to get abused. Nope. Sort of thing. I'm just trying to see when was the last. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna go for this one. Yeah, yeah, like, oh, that mechanic's not going to get totally abused, sort of thing. Um, and like some of like the like you know like you have a list of skills, or like, yeah, you have to, yeah, like you have a list of skills, and you pick one to start off with, and as you level up, you can either swap and change the skills, or if you get to learn another skill, then you get to learn another one, sort of thing, if that makes sense. I'm trying to remember what it's called, but yeah, there's like the uh yeah, it's loading, so I'll be able to tell you in a sec.
is that the stances where it's like
Stances, that's it,
yeah,
stances.
you're
There
gonna
we
earn a
go.
second one at level 10 and a third at level 20 in its current state.
Yeah. Okay. So let's find the brawler. Let's find the brawler thing, please.
And justice.
Um. Okay, come on, come on. Powerhouse, no. Brawler, there we go. So like, um, and Fists of War at third level, and yeah, okay, you have to roll a perfect hit. Well, an 11 or a 12 for a perfect hit, and rolling on a dice table sort of thing. Even that, like, even that, like, for, well, even if you roll a 1 on there, it's still pretty devastating. Like, your opponent feels heavy in the head, resulting them in having harm on their attacks. Like, and it's like, that's pretty devastating for your opponent. Like, if you get like an 11 or 12. And I don't know, part of me is like saying that's totally not going to get abused, if anything. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Um, but yeah, looking at the technician, if I have a look, see. So, Uh, no, thinking about it, I think like the brawler is like kind of like yeah, like if you just pick one style along with brawler, you can mix it up like so much. Like in its current state, mind you.
Yeah.
Like bearing in mind its current state. Um so you may either add your cunning or wits. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't know enough about the technician to be actually like, well, I can give an informed opinion. Don't know why I gone Kermit there, but there we go. Yeah, yeah. I mean, what you got there like seems to be like really awesome in terms of like customizing your sort of, I suppose, wrestler, and you're not just going to have people pick like the same sort of styles because it works better than any other style there.
That's it.
Um, I know that I keep comparing this to D&D, and I know you're probably going to bitch slap me for it, but um, some like there's a lot of subclasses that people obviously go to more than other subclasses for because because they want their characters to be able to fight well or something. And unless they are going to 100% do it for like characteristic reasons or background, like backstory sort of stuff, people are more or less going to lean more towards like whatever is the best out of all the subclasses, sort of
Yeah.
thing.
The
Um,
idea of min-maxing.
yeah, min max. Yeah, it's all min maxing, power gaming, and all that jazz. um, and I guess it gets to the point where some people may play the same thing, like even if they pick like different classes, sort of thing. If they pick like the same like subclass without exploring other subclasses, sort of thing, it's like, well, you're pretty much doing the same thing as you did with your previous cleric or druid or whatever sort of
So
thing.
for one track mind.
Yeah, and with this, I like with how you've described it, sort of thing. It's giving players so much opportunities to like branch out into sort of different sort of ways of customizing their characters.
It,
Um, and yeah, like, I'm thinking like it's similar to like the kind of level up trees that you get in like some video games where like you pick a branch to go down to specialize in specialist skills and things. And yeah, no, I think what you got there so far is pretty awesome.
nice. I just like. I think my main takeaway from and this is more so on the technician rather than anything else.
Okay.
I look back on the technician tree on the skill list as we have at the moment on in the manual. I
Yeah.
read through it, I look at the skills, and I think to myself, as a player, what is really incentivizing for me to pick technician over anything else?
Mm.
And looking over the technician skills from how they currently are in the game, I mean, clean and simple is okay. Like some like ring manip because my whole original idea with technician was making technicians the actual like ring masters, like the guys that know how to position you, how to make you submit, make you and counteract your attacks and all that jazz. And it just doesn't come across that well in a linear system. Because unless I give you the ability to counter something at level 1 and make those counters more powerful by the time you're level 20, or make your submissions more powerful by level 20 or something along those lines, all of a sudden you just have a wrestler that wrestles. That's it.
Yeah.
And I never want a tree or a style to just be a wrestler that wrestles. I want it to be a wrestler that specializes in, or a wrestler that is better off at doing X than the other styles. Because that's the whole trick of having all these different masters of different areas of wrestling. Not one wrestler is the same. And every wrestler has their own expertise in their own specific areas, which is why this new skill point based buying system is going to be so much more beneficial, because now you can look at this whole list of skills for technician, for powerhouse, for brawler, for high flyer, etc. Read through the whole lot and think to yourself, well, I could take one of those, mix it with one of those, put a couple of points into that one, then dip a couple of points into that one, and holy God, you may have put like levels into all of the classes, but your setup is probably, by the time you're level 10, is probably going to be way different in comparison to someone else's. And both of yours are going to be way different in comparison to their two mates who are also different. It's variety on steroids. Ironic because we're talking about wrestling.
Yes.
Oh, steroid scandal of the 80s.
Yeah.
But it now makes technician a lot more incentivizing. It makes technician look more like, oh my God, I can do this, rather than, okay, that's cool. You know?
Yeah.
I want you to look at a skill set and go, what? I want that reaction of, I can do what at what level? I want the reaction of you going, I can do how much damage? Or I can do this?
I can pull off someone's head out of their body and parade it around like a macabre trophy, and then throw it to the crowd for them to play volleyball with it. I mean, what?
I can's Mortal Kombat. But that's the whole point. I want that reaction of, oh shit. Not that reaction of, okay. If I get the reaction of okay, it's not good enough.
Yeah.
Or if I get the
cool
reaction of okay, and that's its level 1 skill, that's fine. But if I get okay by level 2 and level 3, that's a problem. Because it's got to be better than okay by the time you've invested so much into it. That's the whole trick. And this is why it's also a test as well of the creativity and the design of things, which is really getting the juices flowing. But that's just technician. I'm happy to say I've also finished Powerhouse. I don't think I've put them in alphabetical order. Have I completed Powerhouse, or am I still going through it?
I was gonna say, have you?
I'm gonna double check my change list, or what is basically my developer update list, where I put everything that I change, update, add, etc., so I can keep tabs of everything I've worked on. Very handy to do whenever you do design work. Let's see. No, I'm still working on Powerhouse. That's fine. But Powerhouse is pretty much done up to where we currently are with the Powerplexer. No, it's where we're going with one of the Powerhouse aspirations, where you're a power bomb specialist. I'm currently working through that, but I'll walk you through what I currently have for Powerhouse. Bearing in mind it's not in alphabetical order yet, because I'm still going through the things of it. Most of this has been reworked to make it a little bit more interesting and balanced. So let's go with this. Larger Than Life is still here, because Larger Than Life I think is a really fun one that I think people are really enjoying, so I want to keep it. And I made it 1 SP because at level 1 it works. It's good. It's fun. So as a bonus function on your turn, you glare at a creature within 30 feet and intimidate them. They must succeed in a power contest or roll with harm on their next attack. You will also start noticing I'm trying to fade away eventually from checks. Instead of checks, they're contests. If you're doing something to your opponent, or your opponent's doing something to you, it's going to be a contest, not a check, or not a save. In order to make it more interesting when you roll against each other and see who comes out on top.
And competitive.
That's it. The whole competitive nature of wrestling actually coming together in the game. So they must succeed in a power contest or roll harm on their next attack, and this skill has a 1d4 cooldown between uses. Still the same, still works the same, all well and dandy, but now it levels up. The 2 SP, range increases to 60 feet. You are a mountain that can stare people down from miles away. And level 3, when you put force and SP into it, opponent rolls with harm on their next 1d4 attacks.
Oof.
So they're guaranteed to get at least one attack rolling with harm, potentially 4. Which will cripple their damage output for quite a while. And that's level 1.
Oof.
Well, bearing in mind level 1 is the base of it. But invest into it, by late game, oh. You know that big boss guy that uses his climax move every turn because he's an absolute dickhead that doesn't give a crap about the rules? You can stop him just with this alone. Nice. I can live longer. Yay.
Yay.
Test of Strength is also back because I think Test of Strength is really fun. It's a really nice incentive thing. Slightly reworked. So if an opponent is within 15 feet of you, you can put them in a Test of Strength where you grapple to decide who's the strongest. This skill has a 1d4 cooldown. You roll a power contest with the following results. Here we go. Number 1. You are tested and bested. You take 1d6 damage and are thrown 10 feet away from your opponent. This triggers attack openings. Oh yeah. We've now made this even more crazy.
Oh god.
Is that a... I heard a...
Right.
No, never mind. Sorry. Hearing noises.
That's probably me.
And thinking it's me. Yeah, that's if you're really bad. Number 2. You started the test, but you were not the best. You are pushed back 10 feet away from your opponent, and this triggers attack openings. Number 3. It is an even contest. Nothing happens. Number 4. Your opponent is forced backwards. Your opponent is pushed back 10 feet, triggering attack openings. Number 5. The force of your strength causes some damage. Your opponent is pushed back 10 feet and takes 1d4 damage. This pushback triggers attack openings. And number 6. Sheer force overwhelms your opponent. The opponent is pushed back 10 feet and is dealt 1d6 damage. This pushback triggers attack openings. Oh yeah. It's nuts. If you win, great. If you lose, oof. Simple as that. That's a fun one. That's a fun one. And then and then we start going straight into the suplexes, because what do people like to do in wrestling games? Suplex, the signature of all wrestling games and wrestling moves in general. Everyone loves a suplex, so we get straight into them. Because of course, the big thing about powerhouses, they like to suplex, they like to powerbomb, and they like to annihilate. The top 3 things they love to do. Starting off with Crippleplex. It's back, but we made it a little bit different. When you successfully land a suplex, your opponent has -2 to the AC until your next turn. This reduction does not stack. Get it? So it's -2 until your next turn. Doesn't stack. Done. Level 2. Your opponent receives -2 AC even if your suplex was a botch. So this is also something I'm going to eventually whittle out of the game. No longer are you going to have miss, bad hit, hit, perfect hit. Now it's going to be miss, botch, hit, perfect hit. Why are we calling it botch? Ladies and gentlemen, please let me educate you by asking you to watch for many, 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 many installments of Botchamania. Botching in wrestling is basically the terminology of I'm doing a move, but oh no, I haven't done the move right, so it's a botch. Which incentivizes the whole idea of if you hit the move, but you didn't obviously surpass the opponent's AC, you still do damage, but it's not as much damage, you botched. Terminology, actually getting more wrestling terminology into the game. So botching will now be in the game. Everyone that's a fan of Botchamania be happy. And botching in general in wrestling, because it happens all the time. And then level 3. You can now stack this skill onto an opponent to a maximum of -6 AC. So effectively in your sequence, you can crippleplex, 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 -6 AC until your next turn. Woof. Even if it's a botch, which is good. Then we have weaponized suplex. You can suplex an object within 30 feet and slam it onto your opponent. This is counted as a weapon attack, and damage dealt by the object is 1d6 plus power. Pretty good. Then to level 2, increases damage to 2d6 plus power. Pretty freaking good. And then level 3, it increases the range to 60 feet. So effectively, the whole environment around you, just find something, grab it, and suplex it. Done. Delayed suplex is back with some changes. The 2 SP, when you successfully land a suplex, instead of dealing damage, you can raise your opponent above your head and keep them there. You can keep your opponent suspended for 1d4 turns, and then during the start of whomever's turn it is, you complete the suplex, dealing damage equal to the turns passed, where one turn is 1d6. You can perform this skill equal to your harm power per encounter. This has been slightly reworked, because in the original version of delayed suplex, you would lift up your opponent, hold them there, and a turn would only count as your turns. I wanted to completely rework that, so now it's just turns in general. So let's say it's 4 turns, but it's about 6 turns until it gets back to you. Within, like, let's say, for example, you've only delayed it for 2 turns. It can land on your ally's turn, it can land on your opponent's turn. But whenever it lands, your suplex is finishing off, and it's going to be dealing extra damage. Ooh-ah. And then for 3 points, increases to power per encounter, so you can use it more. And level 3 increases dice roll from 1d4 to 2d4 turns. If you wait 8 turns to suplex your opponent and it's a successful 8 turns, holy god, that is 8d6 additional damage to your suplex. Combine that then with crippleplex. Ouch. Deal 8d6 worth of damage to your opponent plus your power. Then, if they're still alive after that, -2 to their AC. Ouch. And then we move on to the return of Suplex for Train, because of course people went nuts when they saw there was an actual move called Suplex for Train. It's back, slightly reworked, but there's a reason why. You can suplex any gigaweight object within 30 feet. This is counted as a weapon attack. This suplex deals 2d12 plus power in damage. You can perform this skill equal to your harm power before requiring a rest, and you can lift your first object without rolling a check. This is the big rework for Suplex for Train. You can get Suplex for Train relatively early in your powerhouse build if you so want to, which is absolutely fine. But the big trick is I had to make it balanced, because the original version of Suplex for Train was pick something, anything, suplex it, and then the GM just decides how many things you roll. I think it's a little bit too out there. Like, don't get me wrong, I want you to be able to suplex trains, which are counted as gigaweight items, by the way. But I wanted to be able to suplex things that would make sense to suplex. Suplexing a train, suplexing a truck, suplexing a roller dada, suplexing a friggin' tractor if you're battling in a barnyard. I don't know. This will allow you to do it, and the fact that you can do your first gigaweight size suplex for free is pretty darn great. That's only a level 1 though. Level 2, your first 2 objects can be lifted without rolling a check, which is really good. And then level 3 increases uses up to your power per rest. Done. Simple, easy little wee work, makes it really good. Great. Then we have Drop the Bombshell, a reference to one of my favourite songs from Power Man 5000, if anyone remembers that band at all. For 1 Powerhouse SP, if an opponent is within 15 feet of a power bomb you land successfully, they must roll a power contest. On a loss, they take harm power in damage. Simple as. Then at level 2, range increases to 30 feet. And then level 3, damage increased to power damage. So now you're giving your powerhouse the capability of doing AoE damage with power bombs. Oh god. If suplexes are all about damage, power bombs are all about AoEs. And ironically, so far, that's as far as I have with the powerhouse. The rest of it is literally a copy and paste of what we have of all the other skills so far, and I'm gradually going through the whole list, reworking everything as we go. So already you can get the idea of what I'm doing with the powerhouse. The powerhouse is literally what its name entails. A freaking powerhouse. You want him to lift things, you want him to deal damage to your opponent, and you want him to do some really unique stuff in comparison to the technician. You can do it with the powerhouse. It's pretty darn great. Any thoughts from you, Tash, about my work on the powerhouse at all?
All I'm thinking after like the whole like 8d6 like thing with and like just all like a lot of other like sort of things you mentioned, and then you just went, well, that's at level 1. Yeah, my thought immediate was you could do that at level 1? Jesus, you're gonna be so buff and like you're just gonna kill everyone in the ring. They may as well just like leave.
See, this is where the interesting thing comes in with the system itself. Because I'll probably have some people who will look at this later or think of this system later on and think to themselves, okay, so when I buy into delayed suplex, the most damage I'll get out of it at level 1 is 4d6 if we have successfully waited and used a delayed suplex for 4 turns. That's correct. Trick is, when you pick your style at the very start of the game when you're creating your character, you start with 2 SP in this skill in the style that you've chosen. If you wanted to, you can opt to have two skills that cost 1 powerhouse SP to give you some variety, or you could just gamble right off the bat and get delayed suplex right at the start of the game and start attempting to delay suplex every opponent you can muster when you can't perform a sequence, when you can't perform sequences more than 1 attack per turn. If you wanted to do it. Which again is the big incentive here. If you want to do it, I'm giving you the chance to do it early on. But of course, if you put all your bits into one basket and you don't like it, or if you're not as strong for it, well, that's it. You got to really think about what you want to do. Do you want to be the one-trick pony early on that ends up becoming the god, or do you want to be the variety player that turns into the jack of all trades? It's that play on, ooh, can I incentivize? It's this is the thing I love about making the skills like this. As a designer, not just am I loving this because I get to work on my creativity and really flesh out some of the skills and some of the attacks and some of the damage outputs you'll be able to do from early game to late game. Not just that, but as a GM as well, looking at things like this, and when I give you a level up and give you your SP, there'll be a part of me just going, "Wish to, do you wish to gamble?" it's it gives you so much variety, so much choice. And one thing I personally love about RPGs is choice. Give me choice because I want to be able to choose what will make for me my favorite character. For some people, they may look at this system and say, I want to make the number by number the best character I can possibly make, which you can do. Min-max players, I wouldn't want you to be isolated. You can do it. But for those of you out there that want to just immerse yourself into the worlds, immerse yourself into creating your ideal wrestler with your ideal skill set and approach to their wrestling style, this is how you do it. You create a system that's based around getting the skills you want, leveling up the skills you like, and becoming the wrestler you want to be. Which is what you want. On a linear 1 to 20 system, you can kind of get that, but then your options are limited to what your level ups are. And if you don't like your level ups in one area, and then you're looking at multi-styling, and then you multi-style up to a certain level and it happens again, you're stuck. Are you just going to keep jumping between each style until you've got a mishmash of everything? And it's like, well, I'm a powerhouse, high flyer, technician, strong styler. Yeah. Whilst if you use this system, you're taking aspects of the technician, the powerhouse, the strong styler, etc., but creating your own being. You're creating your own wrestling school for you and your character. And who knows, that could be an incentive for your character as well. You're dabbling into all the different styles, picking and choosing the skills that your character would want to become better in. And as a result, you create your very own new wrestling style within the world that creates a whole new breed of wrestlers in the future. That's the whole trick. And I hope people get it. And I hope people get the idea. And I hope people enjoy how it looks at the moment. Because, of course, we've got a long way to go. I'm only up to drop the bomb cell on the powerhouse. And we haven't even looked into going nuclear, impact zone. Haven't looked into the power absorber that's all about absorbing attacks and redirecting them either to your opponent or someone else, which is going to be really interesting to work into powerhouse skills in general. Even working in things like hammer stamp, leg day, unstoppable, and the immovable object. It's going to be so much fun. And I haven't even thought about what the hell I'm going to do with Brawler. Because, oh god, am I going to have to balance Brawler and Strong Styler in this. Because right off the bat, I see a problem with Brawler, and it's the old one too. I love it, you love it, I think it's a bit too good.
I mean, a bit too good for the level it's at, maybe.
That's the whole point. Like, the whole trick is, I'm probably gonna, just off the top of my head, don't take this for word, but
No.
old one 2 of a moment, you get at level 1, when you land, you can attack with another strike after you land a first strike. This strike does 1d6 damage. And you are able to roll damage with your harm power or cunning at level 8. Level 16, you can roll damage with your base stats. This score has a 1d4 cooldown between uses. Personally, I'll probably change this so that at level 1, you can potentially do a strike that deals 2d4 damage. or 1d4 damage. Then level 2, it goes up to 1d6 damage plus harm power. And then level 3, it will be 1d6, it will be 2d6 plus power. Just to diversify a little bit and make it worth putting your points into. But as well as that, the old 1-2 would be for power-based strikes. I would then completely make a brand new skill for if you want to do cunning-based strikes. And then you have a choice if you want to be a power-based brawler or a cunning-based brawler, which was the whole point of brawler in the first place, where do you want to dip more into power or dip more into cunning? And I'm going to incentivize that more when I go to rework it, because then, oh god, your skills are going to go nuts a little bit later on down the list. Especially when we go through things such as the stances, especially when we get to Fists of War, Fists of Peace, and Fists of Law. Oh my god, can you imagine Fists of Law? Oh my goodness. Thundering hammers, ladies and gentlemen. Thundering freaking hammers. Oh.
Jeez.
Or yet again, I do like Fists of Peace because you punch someone, you heal them. What? I punch someone.
Or like, if you punch yourself, could you technically heal yourself? Paradox?
I'm gonna have to put this in the details of skill. I might have to put a thing on healing strikes for first level saying you can heal your allies, but you cannot heal yourself. And then, but, I might make a brand new skill for that where you specifically heal yourself, not your allies. So you have a way of healing your allies directly and a way of healing yourself directly. And again, being power or cunning based. That's how we'll get round it. It'll happen. It'll happen. We're going to make these more fun. We're going to make these more engaging. We're going to make these more various, more skills in general. But like I said, very early on when explaining bits, you're not just going to get your Technician SP or your Powerhouse SP when you level up. You are also going to get General SP or general skills. So these will be counted as GSP skills. General skills I'll be sorting out later on once this is all done. But general skills will basically include the likes of sequence. So now you invest your general points into sequence, you can attack more times. You can put your general skill into your climax levels, so that then you can level up your climax move. But then it'll be more in-depth than that, and this also ties into the unique skills of the stars that we have at the moment. Unique skills may now become general skills that you can just pick up and have, such as being able to heal allies or heal yourself, being able to converse better than others, being able to barter better than others, being able to understand certain languages better than others, being able to climb better than others, swim better than others, but being able to drive cars or drive planes better than others. And the list goes on and on. General skills are basically that. The general skills of every human being known to mankind. You may be able to suplex someone through a freaking building, but do you know how to type on a computer keyboard effectively? You may be able to punch someone in the face with enough force that it breaks their face. But can you understand French? This is it. This is it. Of all the questions you might have to ask yourself, I might be able to counter a godlike attack thrown upon me. But oh no, oh wee oh why, I can't even drive a car.
I just don't have the license.
I don't have the patience. I don't have the time. I don't even have the money. I
Oh,
can't do it.
honestly.
With general skills, could do it. And then, of course, general skills will level up as well, but they may level up past level 3 to like level 5, where you can get really big bonuses. One other thing I'm also going to do with general skills will also be the one place where you'll be able to buff your stats, where you can invest general points into actually getting permanent stat boosts up to the maximum of 6. So if you wanted to, you can do your starting rolls and be like, oh great, I have 1s across the board. But then after you start dipping your general skills in and building up those stats over time, that'll be a really good role-played character. If you purposely role-played with 1s in all your stats and used your general skills when leveling up to gradually build your stats up, and then by the time you're going against a world champion, you've got at least 3s or 4s, maybe even an odd 6 against one of the world champions. And you've earned that by going through the hardships of being the weak one early on. That would be so cool.
No.
And that's the whole point of it. You can do it. You can do it. Choice. Player choice. And my mantra with creating this tabletop RPG from the start has been, if a player does not have adequate choice, the player will be limited. Limitations in tabletop RPGs are what can break a great character. It's a limitation on your character. It's a limitation in the rules that can stop your character from being the best version of your character in your mind you could possibly see, to then being a limited character because you can't do a thing because you don't have the number in X, or you don't have the skill in Y, or you don't have the proficiency in Z. I want to give you that full freedom. I want to give you that full. I want to. The thing is, it's like as if I have a bowl. I have a bowl of good. It's like a trick or treating, right? I have a whole bowl of candy, and you've come to trick or treat at my house. But I don't want to give you a few pieces of candy. I want to give you the whole freaking bowl. But then there's a queue outside my house of 100 people, and I'm going to give all those 100 people a fresh bowl of candy. That is what this game is going to give you. Candy up your ass.
I mean, preferably put through the mouth rather than the other.
Oral satisfaction would be best in this case. You know what I mean.
Yeah.
Needless to say, it's coming along nicely. The skill system is still in its infancy, bearing in mind I've only got one finished skill tree at the moment, with the others coming soon. If anyone out there in the world of Twitch, YouTube, or otherwise wish to give your thoughts or potentially any ideas you may have for some crazy skills for our many stars of the game so far, let me know in the comments. Give me all your shouts. Come over to the Discord server. Links are down in the panels of the description, wherever you may be watching this. And with that being said, depending on how long I was going to be, I was going to work on things a little bit. But sadly, with what the time is, I'm actually going to stop streaming for tonight. Have a good rest. I'm off work tomorrow. And hopefully tomorrow we'll be back on Skyrim, because I want to stream some more Skyrim with my Skyrim character that you have helped me create, as well as name Susan.
Aww.
We love Susan. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, hopefully I will see you tomorrow for Skyrim fun times. If you're watching this on YouTube, I will see you whenever. And if you're watching this anywhere else, how the hell did you get this? Subscribe anyway. But do all your regular bits. Follow, subscribe, follow whoever you may be. All that jazz. Let the people know about Ring Warriors. Come to the Discord server. Join us. Have a laugh. Have some banter. have some cake or some candy, especially since Halloween's coming up. All fun and dandy. I might even put together another special Ring Warriors Halloween session.
Ooh.
If you remember, last year we put on the first Halloween session, which was Terror at the Tokyo Dome,
Yes.
which was really fun to a point where I am contemplating making Terror at the Tokyo Dome a free addition to the Ring Warriors Wrestling manuals. You have a free short scenario to play when you buy it, which would be really cool. And it's fun anyway. Who doesn't want to take on a family of necromantic summoning K-pop girls in Japan? Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Anyway, guys, I look forward to hearing from you guys as well as seeing you later on. That's goodbye from Tash. Thank you for joining me.
And yeah, thank you for having me on, and take care, everyone, and goodbye.
Lovely stuff. Stay explosive, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be seeing you guys time. Arrivederci. Goodbye. And whenever you do, take pictures. No, scrap that part. That actually just sounds really bad. Really, really bad. I'll just end here. See you later.